Simon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Connie.
Good. At least the two of us are where we're supposed to be.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yes. So I can see that there are, okay, there are, I think, a few people in this session already. So I'm just doing an official Nisambula Vinaka from Fiji in the South Pacific to those who are already with us. We're just waiting for a few more panelists to join us before we kick off the conversation. And then we will at least take you verbally to Fiji and our beautiful soft corals. It's my first time to do a session here, so I just need to ask some technical questions to my co-panelist, Elliot, who has just joined us.
Good morning, everybody. Nisambula Vinaka, how are you all today? How's everyone feeling?
How do we see how many people are listening to us?
Right, so if we look at the top of our screen, you should see
5.
There's a 5 there. So right now there's a 5, but it will grow as we go. So just basically, here we go. We're into it. We're live, and people will join in and watch, and people will be watching. And if there's any questions, they will appear in the chat box on the right-hand side. Yeah. Okay.
So let's get started.
So we have Conny. I'm in the UK. Conny is in Germany. Simon is in Fiji. And just to let anybody who's watching right now know, we're currently having a slight technical issue with one of our industry partners in Australia, and he's hoping to join us in the next few minutes.
Okay, so just quick introduction through Simon Elliot's drums. I'm the market manager for the German-speaking countries for Tourism Fiji, but I'm obviously here to represent our organization globally. And it's fantastic that we have Elliot with us from the UK, who has been living more in Fiji than he's probably been living in the UK.
True.
And he's probably dived every single dive spot in Fiji. And we also have live from Fiji, Simon Doughty from Volivoli Resort up at the Raki coast. So it's fantastic to have Simon here with us today. Hola, Simon.
Conny, can you see Simon?
Thank you for having us.
Yes, I can see Simon. He's a little bit blurry, but I think that's because it's already late evening.
Sorry, I lost.
Thank you very much.
I lost the video for a second there, Simon, but I can see and hear you again now.
Excellent.
And
sorry, what was that?
Say that again, Simon.
I was just saying hello to Arthur, who appears to be with us as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Come up in the chat.
Fantastic. So we're just waiting for Peter to join us, hopefully from Australia. So the subject of this this topic, this conversation for this morning, essentially is Fiji really the soft coral capital of the world? And this is it's a big question.
Okay, Peter just entered the session. And I'm not sure if we lost Simon.
I can't see Simon right now.
I'm still here. I can see you guys.
Okay,
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
As long as we can hear you, that's the main thing.
Excellent. We're having a bit of trouble with the video with you, Simon, but we can see and we can hear you at least.
Okay. No problems. And I put my special bullet shirt on just for the show, so.
Yeah, I noticed. It's the Tourism Fiji industry stakeholder uniform.
Feel free
I should have worn my blue one today.
Okay.
Here comes Jason.
The gentleman that I'm trying to help get on your screen, he should be in the room. Is his name Peter?
Indeed.
Yes.
Peter, you should just have to share your audio and video and come on the screen, and that will bring you on the screen.
Okay, he has to share his audio and video.
There you go. There you go. You're in, Peter.
Great.
And I'll say goodbye.
Thank you, Jason. Jason?
Thanks for your help.
Bye, Jason. Bye, Jason.
Can you pop something up in a message somewhere just to let the world know this is happening?
It's already been done.
Thank you, my friend. Excellent.
Okay, Bula. So we have a few more people joining us as listeners, as I can see, and our panelist is now complete. We have Peter Farrell joining us live from Early Beach in Australia. So he's kind enough to spend his evening with us. And so we have some 3 absolute experts on diving in Fiji on this call, me not included, because even though I've done over 100 dives, I've only done probably 10 to 15 in Fiji, which is probably not an expert level. But I can tell you for sure that Fiji is definitely the place where happiness finds you not just above, but also below the water line. And it has Fiji really is blessed with an incredible hospitable and friendly people. They are the most welcoming hosts I've ever met in my life. And the warm tropical weather and the fantastic dive sites and corals make it a perfect place to go diving. Quite a few years ago, Jean-Michel Cousteau called Fiji the soft coral capital of the world. And we thought we throw this out as a question to Simon and also maybe to Peter and also to Elliot, if they think if that is still true and what makes Fiji reefs, maybe not just the soft coral reefs, so special.
It's a big question.
So maybe Simon, if you want to start, because you are really based in the area to which Jean-Michel Cousteau related to when he called Fiji the soft coral capital of the world.
Sure. Thank you, Connie. Well, we do. We still believe it is over my right shoulder. We, I know it doesn't do it justice, but we at Volivoli Beach Resort are based on the main island, right at the top. So you fly typically into Nandi, and from there it's about a 2.25 hour coast trip right to the top of the island. And that's we diving the Bligh water. Bligh, after Captain Bligh, which correctly is known as the soft coral capital of the world, and as Connie has said, named by Jean-Michel Cousteau way back in the day. We've got an amazing reef system. There's 7 big regions. The soft coral is phenomenal. It's very, very healthy, and a lot of it starts in 3-4 meters of water right near the surface, and big walls dropping down to, in some instances, 2,000 meters. But yes, I would say it is still the soft coral capital of the world. It's full of lots of colourful critters, lots of marine life, and you know, beautiful warm water most of the year. So I think so. Yes, is my answer.
What would be the average water temperature up at Volivoli?
Sure. Okay. So our coldest time of the year, which would be like July, 26, maybe at 20, generally 26 would say be the coldest. And then it would be our warmest time of the year, 30, 31 degrees. So
Nice.
warm time of the year, you may not even need a wetsuit. In the middle of the calendar year, depending on how you feel the cold, 3 to 5 mil.
Fantastic. And Simon, maybe you want to mention how long does it take with any of your dive boats to get to dive sites where you can see soft corals?
Well, we're fortunate. We're right on the water's edge. We're right on the edge of the Bligh water, so literally it's on our doorstep. We dive 7 regions. The closest sites apart. Well, firstly we have 2 house reefs, which you can just walk off the beach to. They're full of little macro critters, lots of stuff: seahorses, pipefish, octopus, cuttlefish, ornate ghost pipefish. And you can dive that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, free of charge. We don't charge for that. Anybody that's staying on a dive package. So that's some pretty amazing stuff. Lots of great macro photography there. Our dive sites by boat, we have 5 purpose-built dive boats. Closest area would be probably 12 minutes away, and the furthest would be 45 minutes to an hour. One of the areas which is very popular is the Volivoli Conservation Park. It's Fiji's largest conservation park. It's about 9,500 square kilometres. And some of those sites are amazing, absolutely world-class, and tend to overrate some of the other sites, the other regions, but the other areas are just as good. But a lot of people may have heard of sites like Mellow Yellow, Black Magic Mountain, E6, Mount Mutiny, those sort of sites. They're in the Volivoli Conservation Park, so 45 minutes away. And some of the other sites, nice and close. I'll jump in and maybe shall I answer some questions as they pop up?
Please do. Yeah, we've had one pop up there from Arthur, who's asking us, how are the currents in Fiji?
Fantastic.
It's a big question. It's a big question.
It is. We certainly do have currents. It's the ocean, so yes, we do have currents. We're very fortunate. A lot of our sites are that we typically dive are pinnacles. We do have some walls where we'll do some drift diving on the walls. So we'll jump in at point A and we'll be picked up at the end. With the pinnacles, you will find that where the current is coming from, there's a lot of action and lots of soft coral out feeding in the water passing through. And on the other side, where there's not much current, it'll be fairly bland until the current changes its side. If the question is relating to what level of diver do I need to be, pretty much Fiji, and not just the area I'm talking about when Peter Farrell talks to you later from the Asawas. Fiji typically will cater for a lot of people, a lot of divers of a lot of different levels. So hopefully after that's answered your question a little bit. Some of our sites where we do have some strong current, Breathtaker is an example. We've got a lot of sharks around there. And obviously we try to dive those sites when the current is fairly strong so that the big sharks come in for that information, for that sort of stuff. But just to clarify, where we are, we don't do the shark feeding, even though there are shark feeds in Fiji. It's nothing that we do for our part of the business. As I mentioned a bit earlier, for us, one of our big draw cards is we are on the main island. So you land in Fiji, in Nandi at Nandi International Airport, you can be diving with us that afternoon. You don't have to wait for a window or weather window to jump on a small plane or catch a boat to another island. That's a very, very good benefit for us. So the same with going home, I guess. You don't have to wait a day prior to your transfer to Nandi. You drive down from us and 2 hours later you're at the airport, which is fantastic.
It is. That is good.
Our resort, it's a 4-star boutique resort. Got 33 rooms, 5 swimming pools. All the rooms are fully air conditioned. Most of our packages come with full meal plans. We are fortunate enough to be on a headland too, so sunrises and sunsets every day. And every single one of our rooms has full ocean views, so you don't have to fight over who gets the garden and who gets the ocean. It's all right there for you. Fiji, I guess.
Fantastic. Thank you, Simon. Maybe we can hear Peter's take on why the corals in Fiji are so special, and what's the difference between, for example, the Bly Water Passage with all the soft corals and the dive sites in the Yastava. But just before Peter starts, just a big warm hula welcome to those who have joined us while Simon was talking. Simon actually is from Volivoli Resort, which is a dive resort in Fiji, and he is joining us from Fiji today. And Peter Farrell is joining us from Early Beach in Australia, but maybe Peter wants to explain why he is very much involved into the dive industry in Fiji.
Thanks,
Over
thanks,
to you.
Conny. Thanks, Conny, and thanks everyone for listening. Look, I agree with a lot of what Simon said. Fiji has a pretty big variety of diving, and the diving that we do, where we're based up with our two resorts, Barefoot Kuata and Barefoot Manta, is very, very different from the diving that Simon has up at Volivoli in the Bly Water up there, which is absolutely spectacular. The soft corals up there are fantastic. Soft corals need various things to encourage their growth, and one of them is relevant to Arthur's question about currents. A lot of the most beautiful soft corals don't rely on zooxanthellae to give them energy, so they don't rely so heavily or some at all on the relationship with the algae zooxanthellae, and therefore can grow in places that they don't need as much sunlight, although there's plenty of sunlight up there. But the strong currents certainly give them an advantage in the overall competition, the battle for space that corals are constantly having with each other and with other creatures that attach to a reef. So the Bly Water is spectacular for that, because it's just got such perfect conditions for it. We're a little bit different. We're over on the northwest side of Fiji. There's a chain of islands up there that called Isawas. Very beautiful section of Fiji. It's about the two resorts that we run are a 2 and a 3 hour ferry ride from Nadi, where the international airport is that most people fly into. Very spectacular volcanic islands with a real mix of nice beaches and some spectacular geographic formations of huge big rocks and nice walks and things. The diving where we are, again, very nice, very beautiful diving. Don't get the same soft corals. Where we are, we do a lot of marine research on various creatures, and we have some fairly big animals for about 7 months of the year. Up at Barefoot Manta, we have manta rays that feed swimming through a channel, and we've actually just had something interesting happening with them. We've just tagged several of them. We work fairly closely with the Manta Trust, and a gentleman called Luke Gordon, who's based in Fiji and works for the Manta Trust, has just put tags on them. So we've been studying them for many years, so we're fascinated to try where exactly they go when they're not hanging out near our channel. And that's going to be interesting to see. Then a couple of hours, about an hour away south of that, we have Barefoot Kuata, and again, lots of hard corals, very clear water, a few interesting pinnacle dives, but our main attraction there is that we do a dive with bull sharks, and we set this dive up about 5 years ago. We spent about 2 years setting it up before we took any guests on it. We worked very closely with a Frenchman called Thomas Fignow, who has a PhD in shark genetics. He's one of the world's leading shark experts, and he helped us set it up. We wanted to make sure it was good for the sharks and obviously safe for people and good for the local communities. But it's a very spectacular dive. You spend time in the water, very close to any number of bull sharks, between about sort of 10 and 25, and we get other species as well. We get the occasional tiger shark, we get nurse sharks, we get lemon sharks, black tips and white tips, the water's almost always clear, and it's a very, very spectacular dive. We've set it up with Thomas very carefully, so it's good for the sharks. Interestingly enough, some people question whether or not the shark feeding will alter the shark's behavior. We've had about 80 sharks that we've identified that come in there. Some of them we see every day for a couple of weeks, and then we don't see them for a week or for a month or for 6 months. And so we're certainly not changing their behavior in such a way that they're reliant on the food that we're giving them. But it is an attraction and a very spectacular dive. We have 2 dives. One's we feed sharks at 22 meters, and the other one's a bit shallower. It's at 12, and both wonderful experiences. But I'm getting off soft corals a little bit. We've got lots of nice coral, but it's not soft coral. If you want to see soft coral, the Bly water is definitely in Volivoli the perfect place to go and do that.
Thank you, Peter. I think we don't really have to stay to the topic that closely. I think talking about hard corals and mantas and sharks is just as spectacular as our soft coral population, but it is something that makes Fiji stand out amongst other dive destinations. So we're very happy as a tourism board to use Jean-Michel Cousteau's tagline. Yeah, I think the attractiveness of Fiji as a dive destination is the variety of things that you can do, and obviously that includes the soft corals, but also the 300 species of hard corals, and the fact that Fiji has over 1,500 species of fish and countless numbers of snails. Maybe Elliot, you want to talk a little bit about, as you obviously dived everything from, you're having a bowl of kava, fair enough.
Yeah.
Not advisable to do that before you go on a dive. Over to you, Elliot.
Yeah, look, I've known Peter for 15 or so years. We've dived together in various different places around Fiji. I've lived and worked on at least 10 islands in Fiji, I suppose, diving around all of them. Fiji is mind-blowing. It really is. It's a wonderful place. It's if you can imagine the National Geographic show, you know, with various technicolors going on. It's just that. It's unreal. And without, I don't know, there's no words for it, right? It's phenomenal. It truly is world class. I do believe that with everything I've got. That's my take on Fiji diving. If you haven't done it yet, then you should.
Yes, and I think, well, I've only been working for Tourism Fiji for 5.5 years, so I've dived at other places in the world, and I can say for sure the reefs and corals in Fiji are healthy, and we have a fantastic marine life, and the work that the dive resorts do in Fiji is ensuring to protect those reefs. And I was lucky enough to be up at one of Peter's resorts, and I did my little share of conservation, and I planted some corals. So I'm keen to go back there and weed my little coral garden and see how it's growing. But I think the fact that Fiji actually has quite a good number of barrier reefs surrounding those big islands is very little known to a lot of people. So for example, down in the south, just off the east coast of Kandavo, we have the Great Astrolabe Reef, which is the 4th largest barrier reef in the world. And it's probably one of our best kept secrets. So Elliot, maybe you want to talk a little bit what people can find down there when they dive?
Look, so to be honest, I've dived the Mamanuthas, I've dived the Asaras, I've dived the Raki Raki coastline, I've dived Taveuni, I've dived off Overlau. Where else have I dived? I've dived Benga. I haven't yet dived Kandavo. So
yeah, okay, sorry.
I haven't been to the Lau group. I know that there's...
Make something up, Elliot. Make something
the
up.
conversation in the wrong direction.
I know that Fiji is phenomenal in terms of having everything to offer for every level of diver, whether you're a total new beginner who's never dived or, you know, a seasoned professional. I used to, a few years ago now, take groups of visiting divers, all sorts, you name it, from all over the world, all over Fiji, and every single one left with big smiles on their faces and raved about it and said to me that it was genuinely some of the best diving, if not the best diving they've ever done. So based on that, I'm more than happy to, you know, take their words as the truth. I don't have any reason to doubt them. And I truly believe it is a phenomenal place. There's wrecks around Fiji, obviously, as well. It's not just coral. There are wrecks around Fiji, which I know of. It's truly an amazing place. Kondavu is on my to-do list. I know it's an emerging destination at the moment within the Fiji group. Yes, it is a little bit more off the beaten track. I've heard stories of oceanic manta rays coming in just to the east of Kondavu regularly. It's on my to-do list.
Some of the manta rays that come up to us at Barefoot Manta have also been, we do research on them and we take photos of them and we identify them, and some of them have indeed been seen down at the Great Astrolabe Reef as well. So we know at least two places they like to hang out during the year.
Nice.
Thanks, Peter. I've just had a comment from Mike and Samantha. Obviously, yeah, don't just keep it on your bucket list. As soon as you're able to travel from the UK to Fiji, you need to do it. Just a little piece of advice. It's something that a lot of people don't know. You can actually fly to Fiji with just one change of aircraft from the UK. So fingers crossed, if once the airlines resume their normal routes, you can actually fly from London via Hong Kong to Fiji or via Singapore. So it is a long trip, but it's a lot more easier than a lot of people think. There's one thing which I want to stress, because that's something that I'm often asked when I do presentations on diving in Fiji, is the fact that you can only do guided dives in Fiji.
No, that's not true.
You cannot just go off as a that's not true.
Not true.
Thanks. I'm glad I brought that up, because it's something I've always had controversial explanations for, and I wanted to throw this question at you, Simon and Peter. So
we dive.
Fire away,
so
Simon.
we dive, as I mentioned, 365 days a year. We will typically have guides on the boat, and normally we will have one guide per 5 or 6 people. However, there is no requirement whatsoever to go with a guide. No legal requirement whatsoever. So if we have plenty of people who want to go and do this, and we're very, very happy that happen as well. No concern, no problem at all.
Okay, so as long as they listen to the brief from the dive master, they can go off as a buddy.
At least unless you're an independently certified diver, and if they're a solo diver and fully equipped with their own redundant equipment, we have no problem with that either.
Okay. How's your take at the Barefoot Resorts and at Reef Safari, Peter, on that?
Yeah, thanks, Connie. Most of our dives are guided dives. We occasionally have people, and if they have experience, we're very happy to let them dive just with a buddy. It depends a little bit on the circumstances and where the dives are. For instance, dives like the bull shark dive, obviously that has to be a very carefully supervised dive. We don't want to just randomly have people swimming off. So that's extremely well guided and supervised. But we also have some stunningly beautiful house reef right offshore with really clear water. So we're very happy to let people go and do a dive there if they'd like to. We don't have a problem with that. Usually we like to see them do a dive or two first to make sure that they're comfortable. And lots of people choose to take a guide anyway. So but no, we're not particularly strict about that.
Okay, thank you. Elliot, any other things that divers should be aware of when diving in Fiji that you can think of?
I have heard rumours that on odd occasions there is a lesser spotted Peter Farrell who can actually be seen lurking around some of the reefs. And I would say keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, well, I always say that there are no creatures in Fiji above the waterline that could be dangerous to you. I'm not so sure about that creature, but no, it's. I think Fiji is a fantastic place to do your dive certification, but it also is a place to take your dive experience to further levels and to just enjoy what nature has come up with in this really blessed little corner of the world.
Look, it's
so we've just had another visitor joining us in the group. So Bula Kathleen, thanks for listening in.
To answer your question properly, Connie, I would say hands down the thing that we all know sets Fiji apart truly is the people. And we had a wonderful chat last night on here with Volivoli of Natasiri province, who was phenomenal and talked very much from the heart about what this all means to the people of Fiji on every level you can imagine, you know, community level, holistic level, well-being level, mental health. Talked about the benefits that tourism obviously brings to the nation and what this means to people right now, and obviously what's going on at the moment with the pandemic. It was a beautiful talk, and it obviously hopefully helped open a few people's eyes up into what this actually means for the people of Fiji. You know, it's huge. It's huge.
Yes, and coming back to the question of the guided or non-guided dives, I've just that relates kind of to the people of Fiji. I always find a dive even more enjoyable and a lot more fun if I dive with a Fijian dive guide, because it's their home. They know every coral, every fish. Like if I especially like I've dived with some of our dive guides from Volivoli, and it seems like they name every single fish that you encounter.
Yeah.
So it definitely has its benefits as well to dive with the local Fijians, and I guess that call yesterday that you've had and that talk brought that across.
Yeah, I've heard of Lady Grey up in the Asauas, who's a mentor, I believe. There's obviously Scarface, Tiger Shark down in the Benga area normally, I believe. You know, this is the thing, that people know these animals. It's amazing.
Yeah. We've had a question about stinging jellyfish in Fiji. Peter, do you have any issues in the Asauas with stinging jellyfish?
No, not regularly, Connie, and certainly not the nasty ones. Unfortunately, here in where I am on the Great Barrier Reef, we have a couple of species of jellyfish, the box jellyfish, which breeds in mangroves and then floats out along our coastline, a particularly nasty one. And we have another group of small jellyfish that cause something called Irukandji syndrome, which is not very nice. I haven't heard of anyone in Fiji being stung by any of those species. We have a very rare, occasional. You know, the world is full of the ocean is full of small pelagic creatures that float around, and you can never guarantee that they're not going to be there. But I've never had we've never had any bad experiences with people being stung by anything.
Good. That's good to know. So in a kava shell, what would be your top selling point why people need to come to dive at Fiji, Peter?
Look, there's an incredible there's an incredible mix of diving in the Great Barrier Reef, and the things up in the Bligh water are very different from what we see. On our two resorts, we have a couple of things. We're blessed with a couple of big creatures that loiter around, both with the sharks and the manta rays, and that's obviously very special to see. But really, what we try and do very hard is we have a dedicated marine science centre on barefoot manta, and every day we do reef talks there. We have a number of marine biologists that work on the island and do research. We also have researchers coming out from Melbourne, RMIT, and various other Melbourne universities, and some universities in the States as well. So it's really a place where we're trying to learn about coral reefs, and we're teaching people about coral reefs. We're doing that. Obviously, we try and involve guests as much as we can. There's an enormous amount of coral research that we do, and some really good news. We've discovered. We took over running the resort at Barefoot about 10 years ago, and we've discovered a reef that was okay. Our house reef, through some care and some love and restrictions on fishing and removal of crown of thorns and drupella and selective coral planting, the reef is just beyond spectacular. It's unbelievable, and it's to know that if they're looked after well, coral reefs can survive the occasional bleaching and that sort of thing. You hear an enormous amount of doom and gloom about coral reefs, and I think there's some good news out there as well. And if we are able to look after them and to babysit them, I think there's a lot of good news out there. So we work pretty hard at trying to get that message across and trying to teach people. Lots of divers who do an enormous amount of diving. If you actually ask them what is coral, they all kind of give you this standard answer of, oh, it's an organism, which doesn't really mean anything because so's an elephant. But so we really try hard to help people learn a bit about what they're looking at, and I think diving becomes so much more interesting when you know a little bit about it.
Very true. Peter.
Yes,
Peter, I heard something relatively well, I say relatively interesting. It's fantastically interesting from none other than Rob, who's obviously the resident marine biologist at Barefoot Manta. May or may not be breaking news. Wonder if you could shed some light on this. Apparently there's been some research done relatively recently, and there's talk of potentially up to 50 new species of coral, which actually no one knew existed supposedly in the world, which is possibly groundbreaking research, which is currently literally being looked at right now by the science. And it could be, breaking news in the not too distant future. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been talking to Rob a little bit about it recently, and it is very new, and it's so exciting when something new happens about that, and it's one of the things that we're obviously trying to encourage. And I love the fact that Fiji's on the front of some of this information. And we've only been looking at coral reefs in any sort of an attempt to understand them for such a short period of time, really. So there's so much that we don't know about them, and it's not really surprising to me that we're discovering new things and new species, but it's exciting. It's
fantastic. I'm honestly, it's blown my mind even more.
Simon, what would be your top selling point on why you would drag people to Fiji to go on a diving holiday?
I think that we've sort of hit on these a few points tonight. I think the diversity from the very large to the tiny pygmy seahorses right the way through to whales and big sharks and mantas. Obviously, where we are, it is the soft coral capital of the world. But I think what people take home is the Fiji experience. And, it is where happiness finds you. People will always remember their experience, that big face. That's the difference.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you. We've had some new people joining us here in the call, and I just wanted to let you guys know, if you pop by our booth, you can actually leave your email addresses, and we're more than happy to email you a PDF version of our dive brochure of Tourism Fiji, and which has a very good overview on all things diving in Fiji. I'm just gonna try something. I'm not sure if it's working. I'm gonna try to share my screen, because I have a map of Fiji because I want to show you where the 2 resorts are that we've been having on the call.
I'll be intrigued and thrilled if this happens, because this is now groundbreaking territory.
Okay, it looks like I can't do it because I'm using Firefox as a browser,
God, I love it.
and
for
some reason it doesn't allow me to share my
spirit,
screen.
Connie, that's the way to go.
Well, I thought I'd give it a try.
Connie, I've got a very technical map here for you, if you'd like.
What do you got, Simon? What do you got?
It shouldn't be a map.
The soft coral capital is here, and Peter's Michels are over here. You can take this to the bank. It's to scale.
That's fantastic. Guys, I just would like to say something which touches on something that Mike and Samantha Muir have just put in the chats a few moments ago, talking about one of the appealing things that keeps it high up on our list to go to is the pure beauty of the diving there, but with such a wonderful welcoming culture. Sounds perfect. Now, listen, I've got a daughter in Fiji right now who goes to school there. I was married at Tokariki. I've lived and worked on all these islands. I know that some of the island resorts in Fiji, if not a lot of them, have staff who have been in position at said resorts now for many, many years. And not only know the guests who keep coming back and time after time after time really well, they also know their kids' names. They know what the dogs are called. They know when they're coming next. You know, essentially, if you visit Fiji as a visitor, you will definitely leave as a friend, and you effectively become part of the family, whichever family that may be, whichever area you go to. You will be remembered, you will be thought of, you will be looked forward to being seen again. And I know for sure right now that everyone in Fiji who works in tourism, if not everyone in Fiji, is looking forward to the day that they can, you know, welcome visitors with open arms.
And I think we're
yes, that is very.
I think we're about 190 or 195 days since the last community transmitted case of coronavirus in Fiji. So we're a nice, safe place to be as well.
Fantastic.
Yes, it definitely is a safe place, and can I just say on behalf of the authorities and the tourism board, we're currently working very, very close with all the resorts and stakeholders in Fiji to come up with a very good framework that makes it even more safe for visitors to come and enjoy their holidays in Fiji. We will have guidelines in place that will make a holiday in Fiji safe, as our borders are currently still closed. It gives us a little bit more time to put all this into place, but all of you who are putting Fiji on their dive bucket list now, please rest assured it will be a fantastic, safe place to visit, not just in terms of that Fiji is COVID contained at the moment, but obviously we want to keep it like that. And there will be rules and regulations and measurements in place, and we will inform the public shortly in a little bit more detail on that, and it will of course also be on our website. I've just put into the chat box the link to our website with the diving experiences on it, just as a little teaser. And as I said before, we also have a good brochure, and I've fairly sure Simon and Peter would love to send you some follow-up on their resort if you're interested. And well, on behalf of all the Fijian staff in Simon's and Peter's resorts and across all the 333 islands of Fiji, their Bula spirit is waiting for you all to welcome you and make you feel at home while you spend your dive holiday in Fiji.
Vinaka Vakalevu. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for going out of your way today, Simon and Peter. We had a couple of technical headaches earlier on, but we've managed to jump through that. I'd just like to say for the record, this is being recorded. Stefan and Jason, who are organising this whole thing, have been so fantastic and literally came on board moments before this chat was beginning to organise a couple of tech issues. It's been phenomenal. It's a first, obviously, for the industry, and I hope this continues to happen and grow year on year, because I think it's a good thing for the industry, and we need more support next year. Fiji.
Go Fiji, go.
Go Fiji, go.
Go Fiji, go. And unless there are any more questions that you would like to pop into the chat box, I think we should move along. And well, you can always pop by our virtual booth. And thank you very much for spending your morning, afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is in your part of the world with us here. And we just gonna say sotatale, which means we will see you soon.
See you guys. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks,
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, guys.
Is this where we do the no, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. No, I'll hang up first. No, you hang up first. Connie was the first one. Oh, Peter's gone. Okay. Thank you, everybody. See you in Fiji.